Up all day and all night, pushing all the buttons up to something till it's alright. He looking at it from all sides and angles. Got a stripes on his body like he played for the Bengals.
Thank you guys for joining us on another episode of State of the Jungle presented by First Star Logistics. We are live from the First Star Logistics studio here in Cincinnati, Ohio. Excited to be back. Just got back from Tampa. Big win down in Tampa. It was fun. Had a great time. But today, excited to be on the show with my main man, Logan. But we're joined by a very special guest, one of the smartest football minds I know. We're both Alabama Crimson Tides fans. Oof. Used to work with PFF. We got Evan McPhillips in the building, and we're going to be talking about those Cincinnati Bengals. Ev, first and foremost, welcome to the First Star Logistics studio, and welcome to State of the Jungle, my man.
Thank you. I walked in the studio, and you guys got me kirked out already. I'm the new white guy with the chains looking uncomfortable over here, but I'll do my best to carry the show that Malik doesn't have the energy to do, but that's all right. I know he's worn out, so we'll take care of him after his long trip back from Tampa.
Well, as you guys can see, I'm also rocking the hoodie that I saw a lot of people on Twitter were saying that we like. It says, for those of you that can't read it, it says, "Walking your trap, take over your trap." And that's exactly what the Cincinnati Bengals did. They walked into Tampa. Everybody was panicking, right? I can't wait to talk to you guys more about it as the show goes on about how the atmosphere was there. But a lot of people were panicking. They were like, oh, the Bengals are down. The Bengals aren't going to be able to pull it up. And the Bengals, they came back in the second half. They stormed back 33 unanswered points. Big day down in Tampa for the Cincinnati Bengals. But before we jump right into it, as always, make sure you guys give this video a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel. The question is being posed now. Has the torch been passed to Joseph Lee Burrow? Has Tom Brady passed the torch to Joe Burrow? You see, I'm of the belief that it might have been passed because, the same way those old Patriots football teams were winning, right? Finding different ways to win, whether that be from special teams or defense or offense. That's the exact same way that these Cincinnati Bengals are winning right now. Joe Burrow looks very similar to a Tom Brady right now. Yes, I said it. I know it was almost like Adam and Eve eating the forbidden fruit, essentially. That's not something that you're supposed to say. It's not the politically correct thing to say. It's not the right thing to say. How dare you say that somebody could be close to the greatest quarterback of all time, but I'm going to say it. Joe Burrow is the truth. Joe Burrow beat Tom Brady at his own game. And Joe Burrow, if you ask me, is the next GOAT. Before you rip me, Evan, before you say what you're going to say, before you pull out all your advanced metrics and advanced stats and all the stuff that you do, I'm going to kick this over to my main man, the logical one out of him and I, Logan.
Yeah. So the thing is, I'm gonna kind of play a little bit of a boring answer. I'm gonna agree and disagree. I think that when you're comparing them, there is a lot of similarities between their game, and that's kind of where the comparisons run. Obviously, neither of them are the most athletic people in the world, but at the end of the day, they rely on their intelligence, and that's not a lot of things a lot of quarterbacks in the league can do, and that's why they both thrive. That's why Joe Burrow has the longevity, and that's why Tom Brady is a million years old, still playing in the National Football League. But the reason I'm going to disagree with the whole passing of the torch thing is only because I don't feel like Tom Brady's done yet. And I feel like you can't officially pass a torch until you leave. And I don't think Tom Brady's ego will ever allow that to happen. So I think for right now, Tom Brady's still, I don't know. I have no clue when he's going to hang it up, but I just don't think he's going to do it this year after he's played as bad as he has. I don't think he will allow himself to go out on a low. So I just think it's a little early because, again, I just think Tom Brady, he ain't done yet.
Logan, he may not be done because he doesn't want to be done, but by all metrics, the guy looks washed. I'm gonna say it.
I'm not gonna disagree. I'm not gonna totally.
He looks washed. He looks like he
completely.
spent time at the cleaners. I'm just being honest with you right now, man. Tom Brady, and you could talk about Tom Brady's offensive line isn't the best. You could say Tom Brady's weapons isn't the best. The fact of the matter is, Tom Brady does not manipulate the pocket the same way Tom Brady usually manipulates the pocket. Tom Brady does not look comfortable at the quarterback position right now.
I agree.
There was not one point. Daniel God is my witness. We sat in Raymond James Stadium when the cannons were boom, going off, and people were excited, and Buccaneers fans were harassing me, and I didn't say anything. I was quiet. You guys know I'm the quietest guy in the room. So I was quiet, right? Buccaneers fans were saying all this trash. Not once did I feel Tom Brady and the Buccaneers were going to pull that game out. Not once. Not once. And let me tell you why. I was watching his play, and I was unimpressed. The Tom Brady of old used to uplift the talent around him.
Yeah.
This team, this Buccaneers team, is still talented. They have Chris Godwin. They have Mike Evans. They do.
Mhm.
They have playoff Lenny or whatever the hell he calls himself. They have those things. That's a lot more talent than the Tom Brady used to throw to guys like Kimbrel Tompkins and JoJo LaFell and all those different guys. What I'm saying is Tom Brady used to be able to get the best of the best out of lesser talent. This Buccaneers team still has talent. They still have Scotty Miller. They still have Chris Godwin. They still have Mike Evans. And Tom Brady, it doesn't matter what the talent is that this guy has. It ain't working right now. It ain't working right now. That magic that Brady had, that aura that Brady had, even when he first got to the Buccaneers, it seems like that was his last wish. That was his last wish that he got from a genie or whatever the case may be, was that he was going to perform at an elite level when he first got to the Buccaneers, and he's fallen off. Which is why, for Tom Brady's sake, I really, really do hope he either retires or I hope Tom Brady finds himself in San Francisco at the end of the season.
Yeah.
That's what I'd like to see.
Yeah.
That's what I'd like to see happen. But I got to be honest with you right now. Tom Brady doesn't look like himself. Evan.
Just my 2 cents on that Tampa game. You said you weren't worried as soon as the Bucs were up, like everybody else was. Neither was I, but for different reasons. Obviously, for unwavering faith in Joe Burrow and what the Bengals have going on with their magic on offense, and the fact that they're not down in any game they're playing.
Right.
But if you look at how those drives kind of transpired, the Bengals were failing to convert on third downs, and Tampa was converting third down after third down, converted 2 fourth downs on their touchdown drive, including the actual touchdown itself. So when you look at that, especially in building up the game, it's like those early tip ball turnovers where don't invest too much into them. These are inconsistent things that are not, that do not correlate, that are those flippant 1% plays, bounce of the ball, the tipped interception for Joe Burrow. It was just everything from that first quarter said, bet the Bengals to win this game on the money line, bet them to come back. This is that heavy favorite comes in like the Chiefs and they get down to the Texans. And, you know, people are like, oh my gosh. And then smart people are betting the Chiefs back up. It was a similar situation to that. Now, to touch on your point about the passing of the torch, I hesitate to do that strictly because we're talking about Tom Brady. We're talking about the winningest quarterback of all time. My only issue is there one torch to pass? Because take it not even 10 years ago, there was still a heated debate about, was it Tom Brady? Was it Peyton Manning? Was it Drew Brees? Was it Aaron Rodgers, who looked like he had more physical talent than any other quarterback who'd ever played before?
Right.
Was it the situation? Was it the coaching? Obviously, looking back, it's easy to see 10 years later now that with our stats that we have to rely on, with cumulative EPA, with all the hardware, that we can easily say Tom Brady is the guy who should pass the torch. But right now, is Joe Burrow not in a similar place that Tom Brady was to Peyton Manning, where Patrick Mahomes came in just a couple years before Joe Burrow? Peyton Manning did the same. He started winning his rookie of the years. He started winning and getting all of these different records, and people started saying, this is the next guy who's going to be running the NFL. Well, not so fast, because here comes this guy, Tom Brady. And I don't know if you know this, but Tom Brady won their first, was it 5, 6 meetings? And I don't know if you know this, but Joe Burrow has not lost to the Kansas City Chiefs in 3 tries yet. And also another fun fact, Tom Brady and Peyton Manning were never able to go and defeat each other in the playoffs on the road. Joe Burrow is the one who did that to the Chiefs in one of the most hostile environments. So I see a lot of similarities between him and Joe Burrow. I think it's easy to look now in that hindsight with these accolades and be able to compare and say, well, what do we mean? Do we mean, is he going to be the winningest? Is he going to have the most hardware at the end? Or is he going to be an argument for, hey, Peyton Manning, yes, he has less hardware, but if you look for an 8-year span, he was more consistent year to year than Tom Brady, who had those peaks in 2007 and 2011 and 12.
Right.
So are we talking about peaks, or are we talking about consistency? I think that can also kind of affect the picture. So I'm going to add a little more constraints to that. You know, I like, everybody calls them semantics, but hey, that's how I make my arguments. But just to add a little touch on what he said, plenty of how Joe Burrow and Tom Brady resemble each other. Obviously, the tight window accuracy, the precision, that stuff that's next level, where even when a defender's covered, based on the leverage, based on the body position, the quarterback can fit that into a way that guys like T. Higgins can use their body to really box out and maximize that catch radius. Joe Burrow sees all that like Tom Brady did with all the seam balls to Gronk year after year. It wasn't Tom Brady's throwing the deep ball like Pat Mahomes is going 40 yards. It was he is destroying you in the intermediate area with Julian Edelman, Wes Welker, Gronk up the seam. It was constantly picking you to pieces to where you felt inevitable, whether it was 3rd and 2 or 3rd and 25, that Tom Brady was going to find a way. We see that inevitability with Joe Burrow. The only way I'd like to see him improve and get more Brady-like is in the pre and post snap. I want to see him be more right in what he's expecting there and having the willingness to throw the ball away. We see these costly sacks. The Tampa game, obviously a horrific sack. The Tennessee playoffs nearly took him out of field goal range and ended up really making that a tough comeback win.
Yeah.
So those kind of things you'd like to see improve. But one thing that he has had that Tom Brady does not is the athletic ability, be able to run. And that's not use him like Lamar Jackson or Kyler Murray or Jalen Hurts like a battering ram. It's at the points where it's high leverage, where the defense is thinking so much about all the different formation subs that they are not accounting for the extra number of the quarterback in the run fit. And suddenly you call it, and then it works. And it has worked for the Bengals. They have an 86% success rate on runs, which means first down on success rate, you're getting at least half the yards. Second down, you're getting at least 70 yards of the requirement. And third or fourth down, you are converting. So that means 86% of the time they hand off to him, he is getting the required yards to meet the success rate. So when they're handing it off, they found a good job of limiting his touches for injury, but also maximizing his athletic ability and also his ability to get out of his spot, off the pocket, maneuver that offense that way. And I think that gives them more ability to play with their offense than maybe just back when Tom Brady and Peyton Manning were more pocket passers. So I'll go ahead and end my long ramble there.
No, I love it. This is
right
why
there.
we do the State of the Jungle. This is truly a football show. We talk about X and O's. I was not kidding when I told everyone. I was not kidding when I said Evan McPhillips is one of the smartest football minds I know. I'm a football nerd, right, myself. And I could talk to this guy about football all day. It's funny. Like I feel like a kid in a candy store, honestly, to be completely honest with you, because the last 2 shows, I got a chance to talk with Dave Lapham about offensive line. Now I'm getting a chance to talk with Evan McPhillips about EPA and advancement stats, metrics, and the whole 9 years. The things that I'm not necessarily as fluent in, but it makes a lot of sense, right?
Put some distance between mine and Dave Lapham's name,
yeah.
please. Good Lord. Just a couple filler words.
Listen, people say they love it, though. People are saying, Justin Neff says, man, I love listening to you. Justin, we appreciate you. And this is not the last time Evan's going to be on the show. Evan's going to be on much, much more. But the fact of the matter is, when we talk about Brady versus Burrow, now here's the reason why I was saying, for me at least, they seem a little bit closer is because that same Superman-like aura Tom Brady had with Tom Brady-led teams, never get a sense that they're wavering when it comes to Joe Burrow.
Thanos. It's inevitability.
Yeah.
You just know you can't stop the man.
You just know that this team is going to rally behind him. And when the play, listen, Joe Burrow uplifts the players around him. We saw it with Trenton Irwin. Yeah. We saw it in the playoffs with Trent Taylor. I don't know why we don't use Trent Taylor more, but Trent Taylor. Even when guys like Stanley Morgan and so on and so forth are called upon, we're seeing it. Mitchell Wilcox got to call his first touchdown pass. Yeah. Hopefully, he finds that ball or whatever the case may be that he's been asking for on Twitter. So I think when you look at it, right, when you look at what Joe Burrow has done, I do think I caution Bengals fans, and I said this, Evan, you tell me if I'm right or wrong. And Logan tells me I'm right or wrong quite often on the show. But I say to him, Joe Burrow will never be looked at as the most talented quarterback in the National Football League. Never. Tom Brady was able to separate himself from all the quarterbacks in the league through his success, through winning, right? Mm-hmm. Through his championships. I genuinely believe that when it's all said and done, Joe Burrow will be the most successful quarterback out of these crop of guys right now. I think him and Mahomes will be neck and neck. I'll tell you right now, I'm salivating for the matchup versus him and Josh Allen. I'm salivating for that matchup because I think that Josh Allen, and I know Daniel agrees with this because Daniel has said it to me. I think Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes are on the same spectrum. I do. I really do. I think they're on the same exact tier. And I just think that Joe Burrow, because of his way he plays the quarterback position, it's not sexy, right? You got a lot of parents out there teaching their kids to stick their tongue out through the no-look pass and the whole 9 yards. But there's something about a guy that could play the quarterback position at an elite level and do it efficiently. And so when I watch a guy like Joe Burrow, right, he seems like the last of the Mohegans, if you will.
It's not as easily identifiable as you can watch Josh Allen throw a 60-yarder, and the way it pops, they go, the casual fan might go, oh, okay, I can identify that this guy is very good. Yeah. Whereas it's tough to see that nuance of that third down throw by Joe Burrow that's 8 yards, but is between a linebacker and a safety and threads the needle perfectly where only the receiver can get it, but also receiver doesn't get their head taken off by
Yeah,
the safety.
absolutely.
That's something that's a small nuance that Joe Burrow is protecting his receiver that is not as easily identifiable to the casual fan.
Absolutely. He's an Ohio guy with grit.
Yeah.
Right.
That's fair.
And the team embodies that. The
Yeah,
team
they
embodies
do.
that.
Absolutely.
This is no knock to Andy Dalton, but when Andy Dalton was the quarterback of the Cincinnati Bengals, I never got the vibe that this team. I remember there was one post-game speech Andy Dalton did. I love Andy Dalton, by the way. I've met him several times. And he said, "Who's going to ride this bus with me?" And I remember the media circuit was having a field day with Andy Dalton's pregame speech to his team.
Right.
Joe Burrow's a quiet, confident, confident leader. He's a guy that doesn't say much, but when he does say something, you listen. The team has taken on that mentality. Even it's infectious. It's to the coaching staff. If anybody's ever had a job or been a part of a team, you know when you have a game changer, you know that you're working alongside, whether that be in the workforce or in a team game. You know when you have a difference maker, right? It's something that the eye doesn't necessarily catch, if you will. It's the reason why, although I know he's hated by a lot of people, it's the reason why when LeBron goes to, a team, they're expected to be in the championship or one of the teams that people are looking at. It's the reason why guys like Steph Curry are expected to, have their team in the finals. Tom Brady is like that. Patrick Mahomes is like, it's just something you just can't teach. It's like an alpha male. And you know what's crazy? It's not too often that a team has two guys on the same side of the ball. Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow. I think they're very similar in that way. Jamar Chase carries himself as if he's the best wide receiver in the National Football League. Joe Burrow carries himself like he's the best quarterback in the National Football League. It's not one of those things that they necessarily have to tell you, although I think Jamar is more inclined to tell you than Joe Burrow is inclined to tell you. But it is one of those things that is very real. It's very, very real. Logan, I've been talking a lot.
Yeah, I just kind of want to go back to some of the points that you guys made about them, the sexy plays. And I think when you compare Joe to Brady, I think that's kind of, or even just to Mahomes and Allen, that's obviously the conversation everybody's having nowadays. But when you compare the ability to do this at a long time, yes, Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen are absolute freaks of nature. But, you have to start the question. They're not going to be able to do that forever, and that's just the truth of things. It's not like a knock on them or anything. They're just simply not going to be able to do the things they're doing athletically for an extended period of time. And whenever that day comes, are they going to be able to adjust to the game to where, your Tom Brady's and your Joe Burrows, you have you know what you're going to get. Their style of play is so ridiculously sustainable. It's just, you can do it week in and week out. I think that people forget to always bring in the longevity, the ability to do this for a long time when you're comparing these two. Yeah, we can argue that, Allen and Mahomes are going to have higher peaks, but I don't know if there's ever going to be a quarterback like Joe Burrow and Tom Brady that are just so utterly consistent week in and week out, year after year, 10 years, 20 years from now. That's going to go a long way. And not enough people are really talking about that.
I agree. I've said it often. I think Chiefs fans hate me at this point.
Yeah.
I think because people think I hate Patrick Mahomes. It's not that I hate Patrick Mahomes. I think that there's just been a blinders put on. I think people think that that's the way to play the quarterback position. And it's not. It's not. There's not only one way to play the quarterback position. I don't know. I'm call me an old head, call me whatever you want, but there's something special to me about a guy that could read a defense, snap the ball, know where he's going with the football. It doesn't always.
Absolutely.
You don't have to have a bazooka arm, right? You don't have to, they'll be able to throw the ball 60 yards down. Because guess what? Joe Burrow's play style is similar to a guy that could probably play into his 40s, if you ask me.
Yeah,
right?
No, he's definitely got the more transferable game in terms of longevity.
Yeah.
Josh Allen, especially being his gunslinger mentality, if he loses that zip, if he can't fit that window like he used to, is he going to have the humility to say, I need to learn a different way, or can I get the touch that maybe I'm still working on right now? Can I develop that before I lose that power, that velocity?
I think that's also why when you see these guys and they have a bad game, like the game Patrick Mahomes had against the Denver Broncos, right? And he threw 3 interceptions. Everyone was looking at whoa, Patrick Mahomes threw 3, because these guys' teams are directly tied to how they perform, essentially, right? If Josh Allen doesn't pass for 400 yards, and typically the Bills aren't blowing someone out. Typically it's a close game, right? You can't tell me Josh Allen passes for 199 yards and the Bills don't either A, lose the game, or it's a close game. It's just one of those things. You look at it, these teams are so, their team success is so predicated on how these guys perform.
Yep.
With Joe Burrow can throw for 180 yards and be able to, hand the ball off to his running back 30 times a game or whatever it may take to get this team over the finish line. I'm not saying that those guys can't do that. I think everybody can, but I just think that when they have like that superstar trait about them, or if you ever play the video game of Madden, that X factor trait about them where they could throw the ball, or X amount of yards down the field, or they have that one game-changing thing about him. I think one of the perfect examples is Lamar Jackson. If Lamar Jackson has a bad game, the Ravens aren't typically winning. Just being quite honest with you. Yep. Lamar has to play at an elite level for the Ravens in order to win. And I think it's something special about a guy like Joe Burrow. You saw the same thing with Tom Brady, going back to their comparison. There were times Tom Brady passed for 150 yards. I remember there was a game for the Patriots. Tom Brady passed for 125 yards, and the Patriots wind up winning by 2 scores. And I'm like, okay, that's the team being able to adjust on the fly and taking on that mentality that football is still 3 phases: offense, defense, and special teams. Sometimes people forget that.
QB wins are not a thing, but QB losses can be.
They can be 100%, 100%. We want to keep the conversation going. The Bengals are faced with a lot of injuries right now. They are dealing with some injuries. Trey Hendrickson, Sam Hubbard. The list goes on. The question is, how do the Bengals overcome, and can the Bengals overcome their injuries? Evan, I'm going to start with you.
Well, I'm going to say the first thing is the casual injury, let's say the single injury to a position group. Let's say like we had with Cheeto going down for the corners. If you were to lose Lyle Collins or Cordell Volson, what would happen with that? These singular injuries to a position group, the Bengals do have the depth where they could probably sustain that without a tremendous drop-off because their defense is so much built on a sum of the parts as opposed to the actual the Joes. It's more the X's and the O's and the Jimmies and the Joes for the Bengals defense, I would say. When you start running into what they call cluster injuries, where you have multiple injuries, let's say there's more overlap between Sam Hubbard and Trey Hendrickson's injury, what kind of issues are you then running into when you've got Joseph Asai out there for 40, 50 snaps a game? What are you running into when you have Cam Sample out there for 40 and 50 snaps a game at the same time? Then you start dealing with, you've got players that are playing at a lower level to start with and also are getting more tired by the end of the game, where you usually can keep a fresh rotation. So you're looking at particular spots where that cluster of injuries could really hurt. D-line, where they don't have a lot of depth. If you're getting Zach Carter in there and relying on him pretty heavily, he's had a tough go of it his first year. That's generally not what you want to rely on. Linebacker seems like one of their stronger spots where they could sustain, but I'm looking more at their trenches, D-line and O-line and cornerback room. If there's any cluster of injuries, that could threaten to derail not only the Bengals, but really any team. And we saw that just a couple of years ago when the Niners went from being a playoff team and a playoff favorite to picking in the top 5 and getting Bosa because they were just injured like crazy. So as long as they can keep away from getting those injuries at the same position group, I think they're going to be able to manage because of, like you said, Joe Burrow's ability to elevate these guys to where if T. Higgins or Jamar Chase or Tyler Boyd have to miss, then he can maximize that offense. And the defense just has to play well enough. And I think Lou does a great job of mixing things up, moving guys around in different places to play best to their strengths, that he would be able to piece it together, especially if you have time to game plan in the playoffs.
Absolutely. Logan, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think obviously all the injuries suck. And getting hurt is terrible for anybody. But the bright side about the Bengals' current injuries right now is, one, none of them outside of Cheetos are overly serious long periods of time. And we're in a situation where we have a lot of wins. Not in the games, obviously you want to win every game, but it's just so important that the reps these young guys are getting right now are immensely valuable. We talk about Dax Hill. Everybody wants Dax Hill to play. You don't really rotate your safeties. Dax Hill got a chance, yes, at slot corner last week. Regardless, that's valuable. Those are valuable snaps. Evan just talked about Zach Carter, Joseph Asai, all these guys. These are valuable snaps. It sucks that they're here because of injuries, but you got to just make the most of them. And the Bengals are thankfully lucky enough to be able to be successful with the injuries, but they're also gaining, getting more information about the people they have. God forbid something happens in the playoffs, but now these people are more ready to take on the role. Thankfully, again, like Evan said, we're not piling up too much in one area. It's not too many offensive linemen going down or anything. But for right now, I'm just going to be thankful that the young guys are getting extra opportunities and really kind of seeing them not shine necessarily, but just getting more information about them, which is something we haven't really had the opportunity to do so throughout the year so far.
I know Logan's excited for his guy, Alan George.
Yeah.
I know we want to see that one, all right?
Yeah.
No, but I'm also excited to see Joseph Asai. I'm also excited to see Joseph Asai and Trey Hendrickson together. Hopefully we see that this weekend if he plays with a little bit of a club on his hand or something like that. We'll see about that. Yeah. But before we get into the favorite part of the show, which is when we answer your questions, I want to make sure that I remind everybody, if you're looking to start your job as a broker, there is no better place, better atmosphere with an awesome, employee environment than First Star Logistics, right? The link is always down in the description. Right now, they're doing their 25 days, 25 giveaways, so to speak, for Christmas giveaways for some of the First Star employees. I believe we got a video that we want to roll the clip. Our guy Kelvin won himself a big TV. I got 2 TVs in my house, and I think his TV is probably bigger than both of them combined. So, Daniel, let's roll the clip. Yeah, so it's pretty awesome stuff. Once again, congratulations to Kelvin, right? You got people winning iPads and people winning, ridiculous trips, night out on the town in Cincinnati to Jeff Ruby. I know, right? Going to Jeff Ruby. So, like, literally, the culture, right? First Star genuinely cares about their people. And I know since I've been here since September and we've partnered with them, we've got a chance to go to so many different concerts, got a chance to watch games with Icky Woods, the whole 9 yards. They even paid for our entire trip to Tampa, where it was an absolute blast. Right? We got to see Joe Burrow take on Tom Brady. Got to hang out with some First Star people, Garrett and Dustin, and it was an amazing time, honestly. And I probably should have pulled some clips up from that. But if you're looking to start your job today as a broker, make sure you apply to First Star Logistics. Seriously, can't say enough good things about them. The link is all down in the description. You can always reach out to me as well. With that being said, we want to get to the favorite part of the show where we answer your questions. So as Daniel says, drop your questions down in the comment section, in the chat. Let's get to them. Let's talk ball. Let's talk football. I'm excited.
So as Malik was saying, make sure you guys drop your questions. I'm going to start it off. Oh, actually, we got a question here from Andrew right off the bat. What is the single best characteristic that Zach brings to the table as a head coach?
Zach is a player's coach. He's adaptable. He's never going to be the guy that's going to say, you know what, it's my way or the highway. That's why these guys play hard for him. That's why when they went through their losing seasons, they glowed about him. They said, Zach's a genius. They said, even if it may not have shown in the public eye, players want a coach that is that's approachable. Like me, I have a team of 50 plus people. Could you imagine if they came to me with ideas or they wanted to talk with somebody and I just shut them down and said, you know what? Yeah, I'm good. We're going to do it my way. Probably wouldn't be in business for too much longer. Probably wouldn't be calling myself a CEO of a business, right? So I think the simple fact is you have to be a sponge. I think one of the best leadership traits you could have is still being humble enough to know that we don't know everything. Right. Honestly, humble enough to know that we don't know everything. The fact of the matter is you can still learn. And the fact is, I think Zach is truly a player's coach. I know people looked at Marvin like he was a player's coach. And I do believe Marvin was a player's coach, but I think at some points he was on the job so long, it was like, shut up. This is my way. Zach, he will play you if you're a rookie. Marvin had this one thing where he didn't play rookies, right? Yep. Zach will play rookies. Zach will play vets. Right. And Zach truly, he listens to his players. I know for a fact, because it was told to me directly, that he will take input that his players are telling them and he will apply it to the game plan.
Oh, you can tell.
Right. And Jamar even said, Zach allowed me to call a couple of stuff, even when I was out, whatever the case may be. I didn't necessarily get to call it on the headset, but I told him what I was seeing, what I think we should call. Like he called the back shoulder fade to Trent Irwin against the Titans. Guess what? If you're not a player's coach, if you're a guy that's not adaptable, you're not doing that.
And brushing that off.
You're brushing that off. You're saying, dog, you're injured. Stop talking. Sit on the sideline. I don't care if you're wide receiver one. Zach is an amazing coach, and Zach is awesome for the city. Zach embodies what Cincinnati is, right? Being here in Cincinnati, you meet a lot of people who actually know him, right? And we live right down the street from his favorite restaurant in Cincinnati, and just the way people talk about him in this city is a complete shift from how they were talking about him in his first 2 years. Winning cures all, but Zach is going to be in Cincinnati a long time, and I have a funny feeling that when it's all said and done, Zach Taylor will have his name in the Ring of Honor.
Right. Just to touch on something you said, humble. I think the characteristic that he has really impressed me with is humility, because he came here from the Sean McVay system with his wide zone system and said, this is what we're going to run. This is how we're going to be successful. And it was awful. And he tore it down. Everything he'd already come over with that he had worked on installing, he very quickly turned around and said, "This is not working. Let me scrap all this. I am not better than you guys. I'm here to work with you guys to try and succeed. I'm, one of 32 head coaches out here. I know what I'm talking about." He could have easily said that, and I'm the head coach and it's my decision. And instead he scrapped that. It seems like every year, even if sometimes it's not as fast as some people, including myself, would like to see adjustments, eventually they do things like he self-scouted and recognized, hey, under center offense running way too much out of under center. It's, upwards of 80-90%. It's so easy to telegraph. We need to do something. And they started running significantly more action under play action from under center, started running the ball a lot more from gun, getting more diverse in their game, both inside, outside, same side tosses, everything. So you see the ways in which he continues to say, there's ways I can be better. There's ways I can put ourselves in a better chance to succeed. And being someone who has achieved what he has at a young age comparatively to many of the coaches that are around him, and yet having that humility to take that input from everyone. I think that's something he probably learned a little bit with Sean McVay, but it's also something that's inherently within him. And you can't really speak enough to that.
Yeah. I think the word I kind of go with is probably more open-minded. I mean, for all the reasons they all just listed as well, you can't, Zach Taylor's one hell of a guy. So, everybody knows that, but just kind of like Evan was just alluding to, we've took a while to find our identity and we're still trying to find it, but we have tried a lot of things and there's nothing wrong with that. We had our down years, but now we've had our up years and we're going to stay in them for a long time. That's because we took the time to figure out what was working for us. That doesn't work for everybody else. This is our team. We're going to figure out what works for the 11 guys we have on the field at that time. And that goes a long way. You just being open-minded and not being stubborn, like they both alluded to, just figuring out what works for your team and just continuously being selfless.
Agreed.
We got a question here from Matthew. One of the best stories of the year so far, Trenton Irwin, guys. Trenton Irwin, he's asking, what are your thoughts on the emergence of Trenton Irwin? I love his story.
I love Trenton Irwin. If you want my honest opinion, can we be real on the show?
Yeah.
Can we be real on the show?
People probably know it's coming a little bit.
Let's be real. Give it to the audience. The audience, we got 50+ people in this in the stream right now. Give it to the people.
I think Trenton Irwin is carving out a long-term role for himself on the Bengals. And I think there's another question down, where it's asking about the Blackburns and how we keep this core together. And the honest answer is you don't. You can't.
Yeah.
You can't keep the core together. You can keep pieces of this core together, but you can't keep everyone. And that sucks, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But the reason why you got guys like Trent Irwin who are able to maximize their playing opportunities is for moments like this. Listen, I'm not going to be the one to put this out in the air, but I have a funny feeling that if Tyler Boyd's contract comes up, right, and the Bengals have to choose between Tyler Boyd or Trent Irwin.
I'm here for the tough cap conversation.
This is why Evan's here. This is why he's to be quite honest with you. When you talk about cost, when you talk about all of that, like the fact that matters, the Bengals aren't going to be able to keep the Migos or the Tree Amigos or whatever they call themselves together. They're not going to be able to. I do believe that Jamar Chase and T. Higgins are priorities.
Right.
As I should be.
What was told to me was they will not allow what happened with Marvin Jones and Mohamed Sanu to happen again. Now, how I internalize that is they're going to pay Jamar Chase, of course. They're going to pay T. Higgins, of course. There has to be an odd man out. Right. And it sucks because I could see that odd man going up to back to his hometown and playing for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I could see it. I hope I'm wrong. But I think Trent Irwin, from a financial standpoint, is carving himself out a long-term role in Cincinnati. These are not things that we have to talk about just yet.
No.
Not yet. The only way I see this core staying together is if Joe Burrow walks in to the Blackburns office and he says, you know what? There is one thing I took from Tom Brady. I might not have his mobility, but I do have his mentality. And I understand that winning is what's important. And maybe Joe says, you know what? Don't pay me like a top 5 quarterback. Don't pay me like a top 3 quarterback. Let me take a pickup because I want to keep my guys in place. Maybe he does that. I don't know. I'm never going to be an advocate for that because I believe players should go.
He's got to start his own sports company, and then they have to funnel the money in there through business reasons, right? And
Yeah,
then, that's how they make the money.
Yeah, literally.
I mean, So perfectly legal things that are happening over there. But no, I agree 100%. And maybe if you're telling me that Trenton Irwin is just the guy who replaces Michael Thomas, where they throw him the 15 to 20 balls or whatever that they were looking to get him and kept trying to force to him and being disappointed with and coming up empty. Yeah, absolutely. And absolutely looking ahead at the referencing those cap cuts and where does that money come from for Jamar Chase and T. Higgins? I mean, it's tough, but I'll be the one to say it. Like if you start looking at over the cap and you start looking at the dead cap numbers and what you can save, those guys who are trending toward 30 that don't quite fit the core of, hey, once you pay Joe Burrow, who's a part of the next 3 to 4 years, Tyler Boyd and Joe Mixon are two of the names that pop right up. And it's a tough conversation to have. And obviously people feel like it taints what's happening right now to look ahead, but the team is looking ahead and making roster moves today based on what they see 2, 3, and 4 years from now. So it's completely fair for us to all look ahead as well and say, what is the future? What are they signifying?
Well, that's how you
by
have to
these
stay
moves?
ahead, right?
Yeah.
That's why you see teams like the Ravens stay on top for so long.
Right.
But I think the Bengals can get smarter, not just with how they manipulate the cap, right? Like I would like to see the Bengals restructure. I would like to see the Bengals. I would like to see the Bengals, you know,
Throw a couple void years on there and spread the bonus
look
money
what the
out a
Bills
little
did with
bit.
Von
Yeah.
Miller. I don't think the
Yeah.
Bills had that money to pay Von Miller, and they're probably kicking themselves now. But, you know, it's something that they did. Listen, I want to see this team make win now moves and stay on top. The fact of the matter is, right, we can sit up here and talk all day and say, okay, does this person take a pay cut? Does that? What makes sense? Do I want Jesse Bates to stay a Bengal? Absolutely.
Right.
Will Jesse Bates stay a Bengal? Probably not. Probably
17,
not.
18, 20 million a year.
Right.
No, that's
Will
right. The price tag is attached.
And literally, you might have to ask yourself, does Logan Wilson, Jermaine Pratt? Oh, you have to ask yourselves about these type of questions. I forgot who said it. Somebody said, I think it was my guy, Mike Sands. He said, I think the Bengals have a top 5 linebacker unit right now in the NFL. And I said, whoa, I was waiting for someone to say it. I wasn't going to say it.
It's nice, but are you
It's
going to pay
nice.
24 or 30 million dollars for it? And the answer is no.
I'm paying the sheriff. I'm paying Logan
Right.
Wilson.
Right.
Right. You know, I know Jermaine Pratt has a gripe right now where he believes he should be third down P or something, whatever he's calling himself now.
He did make a
He's
good
doing
play on
great.
third
He's
down.
doing
He's doing
great.
fantastic. He's
doing
playing
great. Yeah.
fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
But this is why the Patriots coveted him coming out of college. The Patriots wanted him. I expect the Patriots to make a run at Jermaine Pratt this offseason. They wanted him bad. And the Bengals swooped in and they dropped him. That was one of Zach Taylor's best moves, right? And they followed it up with Drew Sample, but it's fine. Jermaine Pratt is the truth at linebacker, the linebacker position. And I would love to see them come together. I also think that as this is coming down the pipeline, we need to start seeing more of Akeem Davis-Gaither because we need to make sure we have life after that. I also am a big fan. Daniel could tell you, I'm a big Marcus Bailey guy.
I'm a big Marcus Bailey guy,
I'm a
too,
big
man.
Marcus Bailey guy.
If he's
That-
healthy.
right.
That's always the problem. though.
Marcus
If he's
Bailey would have been a
healthy, but if
second
he's
round pick
healthy,
had he not,
yeah.
got hurt.
he's
But
good.
so I think the Bengals got some real depth at the linebacker
Oh, yeah.
position,
Right.
right? And it ain't nothing for the Bengals to, let's say if we did lose Jermaine Pratt, maybe they throw a 7th rounder to the Jags and say, Chad Mumma, come here. I don't know.
I mean,
he
we're-
played. He played.
If we're going back to like the data study stuff,
Yeah.
man, the interior defensive line, the linebackers, those are the easier places to find guys in the 2nd or 3rd round that you can get the cheap production from and then spend up on T. Higgins.
Oh,
the Jamar
absolutely.
Chase,
Absolutely.
the
Go
cornerbacks.
crazy with
Right.
T. T wants to be here in Cincinnati, and the Bengals love him. So
Right.
you guys don't got to worry about that. And he got all those Packers guys coming out saying, oh, let's trade for.
Oh, the Patriots guys are out for
Come
him. Everybody's
on.
out for him, man.
They had
Everybody
their
wants-
opportunity.
Everybody will tell you.
Everybody
T's not
passed
number
on him.
one, but then everybody wants
right,
to. Yeah, all of a
right.
sudden,
We saw
right?
what he did. We saw what he did.
So we got a question here from Matt Bruin. We're talking about the Patriots game. Any thoughts on Bailey Zappi potentially playing? How does that make what Lou is preparing for affect them, especially on a short week?
It doesn't.
Mm-mm.
It doesn't. Bailey Zappi's okay. He's not bad. He's a good player. I think him and Mac Jones are very similar. I think that if you ask me, I think Bailey Zappi might be better.
That's
It's tough.
I know the way Mac Jones has been playing this year. If we're looking at again, this is 1 year samples. We're talking about small sample sizes, and of course, in football and NFL, everything is a small sample
Of course.
size. Mac looked great last year,
Yeah.
and then looks in shambles this year. Is that a byproduct of Matt Patricia and Joe Judge sharing co-offensive coordinator hats for a role that they've never held in their careers? Maybe, I don't know. Clearly, there's been some frustration on their sidelines at times. I think I agree with Malik that you prepare the way you prepare. You're not really worried. There's not anything dynamically different about them where one presents a tremendous running threat and the other one has a strong arm that you can really stretch the defense on. I don't think there's anything different than that. I think you prepare the way you prepare and you come out and you play your game and let that speak.
Yeah.
So we got a question here, kind of a quick one from Reggie. He's asking, which NFL team is the Bengals' Achilles heel? Chiefs, Bills, Browns? Who's the Bengals' Achilles?
Definitely not the Chiefs.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you right now, it's a team that's not in the playoff. It's the Browns. I don't want to see the Browns again.
You said that last time.
I think we might have got a little lucky because Deshaun Watson, it was suspended for
Rusty.
quite some time, but
Had a Space Jam incident.
Yeah.
Where the talent got sucked out in the ball in the locker room before the game, and
oh my God. But here's what I will say. If we're talking like for playoff, there's nobody in the AFC that scares me. I mean, I got to see us matching against the Bills, but I think the Bills can be very similar to the Chiefs. I really believe that.
It's a healthy Bills team with Vaughn. Without Vaughn,
To be quite honest, this is going to shock people. I'm going to name two teams right now, and they're both not in the AFC. They're in the NFC. I'm going to tell you what they are. It's the Dallas Cowboys, and the San Francisco 49ers. Those are two teams that I think that can give the Bengals problems.
their linebackers sitting in the middle of the field.
Yeah.
That's what really scares me is their ability to cover that intermediate area really well. You just saw they did it to Dolphins just a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Took them away.
Absolutely took away the middle of the field and those crossing routes. I mean, Warner's out there just.
I don't want to see Nick Bosa tip a Joe Burrow pass and it land in Fred Warner's hand. I don't want to see what the hell's going on with Joe Burrow on these tip passes. You tell me, EPA.
Okay,
guys.
now I was actually just looking at this earlier because I was curious. So top 5 quarterbacks in batted passes are Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert tied together. Then you have Russell Wilson, and then you have Josh Allen.
Terrible company.
And who is the other one? I don't have it pulled up right now.
Somebody else that's good.
It was somebody else that's also like 6'5". So it's not a small quarterbacks thing. I think a lot of it has to do with time to throw, right? Because you saw this with Drew Brees toward the Saints when they really sped up their time to throw there. I think it was around 2017, 2018, where people were talking about how he was getting it out in under 2.5 seconds on almost every snap. And people were going, how do you rush the passer? How do you do this? How do you get there in under 2.5 seconds without doing that in a blow by kind of edge or interior pressure? You got to get your hands up. So if you can't get there within 2 seconds or 2.5, they know you're getting it out quick. They know you're looking short. They're just going to drop back, kind of hold and wait to shed. And then as soon as they can, they're going to shoot their hands up and try and make a play reading your eyes. And I think a lot of people are reading that as the scouting report with Joe Burrow because he has that processing power of a Tom Brady, of a Drew Brees. And he, to his credit, has responded to how defenses are playing him, challenging him to throw short. And he is processing faster underneath, more willing to hit the check down like a Brady is, where they will gladly throw to the running back, let them run for 4 or 6 yards, fist pump and say, let's go and keep moving. So I think that's a large part to do with it. It's just the time to throw, how quick it's coming through. I think that's the defensive coaching of other teams that are maybe saying, hey, stress that more than you would playing other opponents.
Right. I think they pretty much answered Reggie's question as well.
Yeah, so we got a question here. We're going to go to Matthew. He's asking about Chris Evans. Why do you guys think Chris Evans is in the doghouse? His opportunities seem limited, and he normally produces when he's given the shots.
Help me with this one.
I think it's a multitude of reasons. I think it's about consistency. It was the same issue that this staff had, the old staff had with Mohamed Sanu, why he wasn't getting playing a lot of playing time before. It was about how you practice, how you prepare. But I also think that when you look at it, right, I don't think Chris Evans is the strongest runner in between the tackles and things of that nature. You talk about a guy that can do kick return. I think he's the best kick returner on the team right now, if you ask me. What's the trade-off, right?
Yeah.
If Joe Mixon goes down, if Samaje goes down, who's the next guy, lined up at running back? Is it, is it Travion?
Travion, because Samaje is hands down their best pass blocker.
Yes.
Mixon's not been that. If they don't have that, I don't see them trusting Chris Evans, who has 18 snaps on the season?
Yeah.
I don't see that. As much as I would like to see him as an offensive weapon, his ability as a receiver is exceptional. I think, obviously, let's just say Joe Mixon is hurt again, and you have Samaje and Chris Evans. Is that not the poor man Zeke, Tony Pollard?
It is.
You don't have to use him for those bruising in between the tackles runs because, we've seen P. Ryan do it since he's been carrying the load after that Carolina game. How many times has he gotten 2 or 3 yards and taken that another 6 or 7 with the pile on him? It's crazy.
And then Vegas continues to put his odds at 13 and a half rushing yards.
His props are my favorite.
I think with Chris Evans too, it's just like you guys kind of alluded. There's just nothing he does better than anybody on the team right now. Yeah, he's a good receiver. He's probably the best receiving back you have, but then it just becomes one dimensional. You know, kind of the avenue we're going. I think, yeah, he can be used a little more. There's definitely avenues to use him a little more, but you don't like to just, this guy's gonna come on the field. We're probably gonna throw the ball. We're probably gonna get him in space. But when we have Mixon and Pirine, they can all do a little bit of everything, and it just keeps defenses a little more on the edge. I think right now with them.
I agree.
Keith Bradley, our guy, is asking the question: can the Bengals catch everybody off guard and snag the #1 seed in the AFC?
They need help.
For
I think
sure.
it was a 13% chance when I was looking earlier today at the one
Chiefs need. I think the Bengals are probably going to run the table. To be honest with you, the next couple of, I do.
I think they could. I think they. I mean, shoot, if you're Buffalo, honestly, if you're sitting there and the #1 seed isn't already locked up, or you don't have a shot at it, are you maybe thinking about giving Josh Allen a week off with his elbow and everything else?
Yeah. Because we all know his elbow's injury is much.
Is the 2 or 3 seed that different for you? Like, is that
right.
or the 3 or the 4? Anyway. Like, you're going to end up playing one of the Chargers or the Titans or any of them. So, I mean, are you that concerned about them? Like, maybe health is more important.
We got some of our guys in the studio with us. When do you guys pull up? Who do the Chiefs have next? Like, what's their schedule?
It's very easy. They don't.
There's no game.
It looks
the
easy.
Texans almost shocked them. The Texans almost shocked them.
If the Chiefs are going to lose, they probably would have lost.
So we got the Chiefs are playing at home versus the Seahawks, at home versus the Broncos, and then on the road versus the Raiders.
I think Seahawks got the best chance.
Listen,
off there if Geno's still playing.
I think one of those teams are going to shock the Chiefs, and it might be the Broncos. I'm being honest with you. Broncos almost got them before. The Broncos for some reason always play the Chiefs incredibly tough, especially down, towards the end of the season. If you remember last year, Drew Lock was leading the charge. They were dominating the Chiefs the entire game.
Yeah.
And then what do you know? Either the Raiders, I don't think that's easy, actually. I think either the Raiders, Seahawks, or the Broncos win. If you ask me, put a gun in my head, you say pick a team right now, I'm picking the Broncos to beat them.
Well, you talk about how hard it is to beat an NFL team 2, 3, or 4 times in a short time. How many times have the Chiefs beat the Broncos in a year now? It's like, have they even beat them since 2016 or 2015?
The Broncos have not beat the Chiefs since 2014.
That'll be the game.
I thought it was the Alex Smith start.
Yeah. That'll be the game that probably saves Nathaniel
Maybe this
Hackett.
is the one.
That might be the game that saves Nathaniel.
Hold out hope.
That might save Nathaniel Hackett, or maybe that'll be the game that saves Josh McDaniels or something like that. One of y'all losing though, that's for sure. One of them are gonna beat them because the Chiefs ain't going undefeated the rest of the way. It seemed like the Bengals took that team's heart. Can we talk about it for a second? It seemed like the Bengals took that team's heart. They've been playing. They've sucked the last couple of weeks. I'm just gonna be honest with you. They've been flat.
Travis is getting a little bit older. I mean, they don't have that reliable weapon that they
used
to. I mean, it's Pat Mahomes is still. I gotta go. Pat Mahomes is still out there just dominating. In terms of EPA, in terms of value added at the quarterback position, it's not close. He's playing incredible football still. It's just the pieces around him. You got a younger defense that you've been switching in and out. We know defense is most inconsistent year to year.
It just means it just feels like everything's coming down for the Chiefs. You got, them struggling to win. You got their super fans getting arrested for robbing banks and whatnot. I mean, it just seems like everything's coming down for them.
What
I don't.
Story that was.
That is why I saw him at the Bengals game.
I know. I remember when we were talking
I saw him at the Bengals game. I said, I said to him, bro, cool outfit as I was going in, heading up to the First Star Logistics suite.
He just hand you a stack of hundreds.
He actually was walking. He was walking like this, and he was like, he said, "What's up?" And he kept walking. He literally legitimately wears an entire wolf outfit. Head has like a dog, not a dog tag, a nameplate, or license plate around him, and he wears a red shirt as well. I said to him, cool outfit, bro. That outfit's cool. I remember because Daniel was leaving, and I was like, all right, well, we're going. And
that's wild.
Now he's robbing banks or whatever the case may be.
He's always robbing banks.
I'm sorry. Maybe
bro.
maybe the Bengals stole. Maybe the Bengals stole something from them. I don't know.
So going back to the whole Chris Evans thing, I want to answer the question real quick. How many runs has Evans had compared to Williams? Evans has not had a single rush attempt this entire year, and Williams has only had 6.
That should tell you everything in how this Bengals coaching staff views him. You know what I mean?
The receivers were all hurt. What game was that? Like week 6 or 7, and they barely even used them. They were everybody, and you saw him in the red zone package against the Chiefs game, which of course is the winning touchdown there that took care of business.
It wasn't even for him, like he said either. He said Joe was hurt, so I got to do it.
Right. They definitely don't seem to be trying to incorporate him much into the offense right now. As much as that, everybody I know, especially myself included, was hoping to have him more involved in year 2. It's just not been there.
So, Malik, the people know that you're going to be heading to the Patriots game, and Keith Bradley is asking, are we going to be getting a gritty from you after the Bengals win on Saturday?
Hold on. You ain't got to wait for that. Hold on. You got to wait for that.
You even gonna be able to see it?
You ain't got to wait for
my
that.
Lord.
Hold on.
Oh, my Lord. Oh, there it is.
You know what
There
I'm
it
saying?
is.
Listen, the Bengals have won how many games
Close
in a
your
row?
eyes, everybody.
6
Close
games in a
your
row. You don't got to
eyes.
close your eyes. Listen, the fact of the matter is, this Bengals football team has been shocking the entire NFL world. I've been the same guy sitting here saying, I told you so, told you so, told you so. This is what we do. This is why there is no better show out here than State of the Jungle, talking about the Bengals. It's a show for the people, but answering your questions. Let's keep them coming.
Question here. Our guy Matthew is coming up with some great ones. Is Mitchell Wilcox a tight end number 2?
I'm not ready to say that just yet.
I think you're starting to get to you're starting to hit what we call replacement level player value, which is when they say replacement player, they mean you can just sign a free agent tight end and they're about the same level of play. If God forbid something were to happen to both Hayden Hurst and Wilcox, I think you're signing somebody off the street and they might be playing pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean, Mitchell Wilcox was our long snapper week 1. That you're tied into also usually isn't your backup long snapper either. So that's kind of he's stepped. Yeah. He's answered the bell well these last few weeks. He's done his job. That's about all you can ask from him, and I hope he continues to keep doing it.
We got a question here, and this is actually a huge one that all Bengals fans are asking. Is Cam Taylor-Britt's injury more serious than just a quote-unquote stinger?
Yes. More serious than that. I'm not interested in going back and forth with Zach said. That's coach speak. He's going to say what he's got to say. Obviously, it's not just a stinger. There's been no decision made on if this guy is playing this week or not. This injury hasn't just been this week. It's been happening the last couple of weeks. And I believe it might have happened in the Browns game where it actually popped out. But, it's more serious than just a stinger. I promise you, they don't take a player out the game like that right away for just a stinger. And I was also I'm just gonna leave it at that.
He was clearly in pain. He was visibly hurt. And
it's more than just a stinger.
You don't obviously, but it's a Patriots. They don't talk about too much. Maybe you can get by. You got to plan for
pillow, Alan George.
Yeah, you got a game plan for the future. We keep.
I'm sorry for my terrible take I made today, guys. It was awful. I said Jesse Bates should probably play cornerback, maybe.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah,
and people were like,
I looked a little.
Well, hear me out though. Hear me out. Jesse Bates did play corner at Wake Forest when called upon, and he did a very good job. He's a ball hawk. He knows how to match receiver routes and stuff like that. The guy is very versatile. We haven't seen it and to me, if you ask me, he hasn't been lighting it up at safety either.
Is Mike Hilton going to be back? Do we know for sure yet?
I don't know that.
We're still waiting.
Still waiting for that.
My only hesitancy would be making Jesse Bates corners got to tackle in those games.
Oh yeah, we know about that. Yeah,
that's what it was. So.
Well, do you feel Jesse was a good tackler at one point in time. Well, I think it's a little bit different motivation when you don't wake up in the morning to being one of the highest paid safeties, and it's like, okay, do I tackle and reverse injury?
Slide Dax Hill into the slot maybe and just say, hey, young blood, you got some juice.
I think that this is the game. This is the game where he could do that for sure.
Yeah.
Dax Hill's
let you loose. We're just gonna let you play with your hair on fire. Just do your thing.
Oh, yeah. This could definitely be that game. I think this is the type of game Dax Hill's going to thrive in, loading the box, being an extra, guy in there. And being
going to
You ain't got to worry about Matt McCorkle. I promise you that.
I want to answer this, get you guys' perspective on this hot take real quick. Smash Adam says he predicts Cordell Volson is going to be an all-pro in year 3. Just your thoughts on this hot take.
The timing is right. Generally speaking, you see offensive linemen start to peak around year 3 or 4 as they develop more functional strength and start to get, obviously growing in 20 and 21-year-old guys are not going to be as strong as 24 and 25-year-old men. But I don't know. That's
all pros are big.
Yeah, all pro is
big.
Pro Bowl is different. All pro is your top 2, and you're I think that's a high ask. I hope so, but I'm going to be.
When's the last time since I had an old pro guard? Kevin Zeitler?
It had to be Zeitler. Zeitler, did he even make all
Still,
pro?
that's what I was gonna say. It's
It
so
had to
hard.
go.
It's so hard to be an
I
all
don't think
pro.
so. I don't think the
think so.
Bengals
Not-
had enough recognition at that
No.
point to
So hard
where
to
he
be an
was
all-pro.
getting all pro and not Pro Bowl because you had Marshall
Zeitler.
Yonda at the same
We got
time.
my guy Caleb in the studio. I know I can see his hands working. He's already trying to figure out if we're
Yonda was
accurate
just
or
a
not.
perennial all pro.
Oh,
He
yeah.
was, he was always
Phenomenal.
like, and then so you could need one more guard and
Yeah.
Zeitler's out.
I honestly love how this offensive line's coming together. I don't like seeing Lyle Collins on the floor all the time, but just
You need everybody to be average.
Yeah.
And that was the thing
That's
is there were
Yeah.
a couple spots that were putrid and it just dismantled the offensive rhythm last season.
Mhm.
And now you at least have something where, hey, Jonah may be losing more often than anyone's comfortable to, and Lyle doesn't look like a top
And-
5 or 10 tackle, but
and
that's okay.
And I always caution people, remember, Jonah is playing with a dislocated kneecap. Let's just remember that.
Yeah,
Context matters. He's playing with a dislocated kneecap. He's not going to look amazing, right? Playing on that. So just give it some time, I would say. I love Nate. Let's get Nader's stuff up here. Don't skip over now.
Which question from Nader? Nader was
No, he asked.
Oh,
how many,
so-
yeah.
Nader's. This is a bold question here. I hope this was the one you're talking about.
Kevin Zeitler was never all pro, right?
No,
Never all
yeah.
pro. So that's the answer there. Kevin Zeitler
he
never
made a
all
Pro
pro.
Bowl or two, though, at least, didn't he? Yeah, I was going to say.
So Nader's asking, 10 years in the future, right? How many rings does Joe Burrow have?
Do you want to maybe
I
we
mean-
should start over here and work towards you.
Logan?
That way we don't want to take the energy
Logan,
down.
I mean, winning a Super Bowl is so unbelievably hard. Let's not forget that.
Womp, womp, womp.
It's the fact. It's a fact, bro. It is. 10 years. My God, man. I don't want to be the Debbie Downer either. My
The
real
Debbie Downer.
my
Talk about the
realistic
conductor.
one. 10 years. I'll say 2 or 3.
Man. I thought we were going to get a nice like raising the
Yeah.
bar action here, and you were going to say 1 and
No.
making sound. All right. I'll look, like you said, everything's got to be perfect. And when
So
you put
hard.
Joe Burrow and T. Higgins and Jamar Chase together for the next 5 to 7 years, I'm willing to give them a shot that works out
Year in and year
twice.
out, yeah.
The conductor.
Oh God.
Conductor.
The
Not
conductor.
7, not 8,
Every week
not
we
9.
talk about the
All.
conductor. We talk about Joseph Lee Burrow on this show. Here's what I'll say. I know you're expecting me to be the rah-rah guy and say, oh, he's going to get 10. I'm not going to say that. But I did say something on the show. I said, and people always say, oh, your Jersey accent's coming out when you talk passionately about the Bengals. But the fact of the matter is, there it is. I think they get one this year. I think the Bengals get one this year, and I've been very, very honest about that and open about that. I don't think that they get any next year. I think the next time the Bengals will be that doesn't mean they won't be in the Super Bowl. I think that the year that they go and they play in Louisiana, the Super Bowl's in Louisiana, I could see them getting another one that year.
Oof.
I'm gonna say 3. I'm gonna say 3. I'm gonna say 3. I'm gonna say 3.
I respect.
That's your measurement.
I'm glad.
I like
Yeah.
it. Good job.
But if you're asking me to be ridiculous with it, I'll be ridiculous with you. Listen, I think Joe Burrow is going to have more Super Bowls in the next 10 years than any of the quarterbacks in the league, to be quite honest with you. And I think it's because of what the culture Cincinnati is building. They're winning. They're building something sustainable to last. They understand that winning isn't just about our quarterback pass for 500 yards, 400 yards a game. They're building the defense. They're building the offense. Right now, they have the right coaching staff. I really, really hope that we get a few with this coaching staff. I really, really do. We'll see. But if you ask me, that's my prediction.
We got a question here, and too bad we don't have Dave Lapham on here because they're asking
Coffin nails. Bang.
They're asking about the offensive line. Will we ever see Lyle look like he did with the Cowboys?
No.
I was going to say, yeah, someone with back issues. I'm going to say a hard no on that one.
But we don't need him to, thankfully. It's not like we're
Right.
expecting him
Right.
to be the best
Again,
of the
it
best.
goes back to, all the data says you need 5 guys who can be average. You don't need 2 or 3 superstars because then you have 2 or 3 holes on your offensive line. Just look at the Laramie Tunsil issue. Laramie Tunsil still playing like an all-pro. Has that done him any favors? No. The Joe
Colts,
Thomas, everything. Like it's you can keep naming these guys of multiple all-pros that are on there, and it doesn't matter because if you got 1 star, they can just attack the other side of your line, no problem.
Yeah.
His other question was, how good do you guys think Hakeem Adeniji could be?
Swing tackle, your NFL swing tackle, which I mean, I think he's going to be your backup guy. I think he's solid. He comes in, you're fine with him.
I'm good.
He's solid. He can get you, through 2 or 3 games, but you don't want to be starting him.
And
I'm good.
For a 6th-round pick, that's well worth it. You know what I mean? He's well worth his draft status.
Go crazy.
He obviously wasn't the best last year. He come in here and there.
It's not even anything saying he's like exceptional. It's just saying the state of NFL offensive line talent now past stars.
He's better than some of the other people we've had, though.
Oh, better than Bobby. You can say it. We say it on the show.
Bobby Hart.
Bobby Hart. No.
I'm sorry to swear.
No.
Jeez.
Oh my God.
Matt Brewer is talking about Joe Burrow for MVP. I know Logan, we've already talked about it. Malik, we've already talked about. But Evan, if Cincinnati gets the #1 seed, do you think Joe Burrow should be considered for MVP?
I don't think they need to do that anymore. I don't think that's part of it. I don't think the #1 seed's important because if you've got Jalen Hurts sitting out, that erases him from the equation. You got Pat Mahomes. Now, obviously, you're asking for a lot for him to drop off, but if they drop a game and the Bengals win out and end the season with beating the Bills and a Josh Allen, Joe Burrow fest, I don't know how you sit there and say Joe Burrow went head-to-head with Josh Allen and Pat Mahomes, walked away winning, and you're not going to give him the MVP. I see it that simple. So if Kansas City continues and just stumbles just a hair to give Joe Burrow that opening, I mean, you saw how much his odds have creeped in the last 3-4 weeks. Add another 2 or 3 to that.
Give it to Mahomes. We're focused on Super Bowls.
That's fair.
Elise is asking, this is kind of funny. Just curious, are you guys allowed to be on camera without Bengals gear, or is this contractual?
No, it's not contractual, but we had
first
to walk
time.
in. I think this is actually the first time on the show we've all wore Bengals gear, actually. But we had to come in with walking your trap, take over your trap. You already know what the Bengals do, man. You already know what the Bengals do. Road Warriors. I don't care if we got to play on the road or we got to play in Paycor Stadium. Such a corny name, but if we're playing in Paycor Stadium,
pays the bills. Pays the Joe Burrow contract.
It's the Joe Burrow Stadium.
Right.
It's the Joe Burrow Stadium. What did Andrew say? How many sacks next week if Bobby Hart starts? Oh my God.
Oh God.
Oh my God.
Just put Trey with his club over there. Just let him go to work.
Man. Yeah. I hope Bobby Hart starts. I hope Bobby Hart starts. Anyway, we want to thank you guys so much for joining us for an episode of State of the Jungle. My main man, Evan, appreciate you for joining us, brother.
Appreciate you.
Live from the First Star Logistics studio here in Cincinnati, Ohio. This was a blast. Not going to be the last time we do this. Let us know if you guys want Evan on this show more often. Like, put comment in the comment section. I certainly love having Evan on. We could talk football all day, every day. It's awesome. It's a blast. Logan, my main man. I think we will. Yeah. I think we will. I think we're going to give the people what they want, or give Malik, what he wants, so to speak. But Logan, my man, as always, fantastic show. We want to thank you guys so much for supporting us. We'll be back here Monday. Also, I don't know if you guys heard, the Wright Bet show is coming back soon. Betting is becoming legal in Ohio. That's news and I am ready to make people some money. Daniel is ready to make people some money. And as I screamed, I said to Daniel in the Raymond James Stadium, show me the money. I'm excited. I'm pumped up. I'm ready to go because guess what? Betting is finally legal. We are pumped up. We are excited. We hope that you all have a Merry Christmas, a happy holidays, safe travels. I'm going to be in New England watching the Bengals beat down on the Patriots. I'm avoiding this negative degrees, 5, whatever weather it's going to be. I'm excited to see the Bengals again. I'm just pumped up. We're going to appreciate you guys so much for joining in live from the First Star Logistics studio. And we'll see you next time. Oh, also, Evan, tell them where to find you at.
Oh, shoot. Y'all can find me on Twitter, just at @emcphil. I tweet nonsense and sometimes football stuff too. So check me out on there.
As he says, pay your offensive line. That's his big thing.
Pay your offensive line, and you need more cornerbacks.
Yes, absolutely.
Always.
But thank you guys so much. We'll see you next time. Happy holidays.